Buenas, buenas, gente de toda América Latina. Hoy tenemos un programa súper interesante, justamente para que empecemos a hablar de qué es, pues, o cómo fortalecer las comunidades indies. Hoy tenemos unos invitados especiales, pero antes, pues, justamente les presento aquí a toda la camarada que vino a apoyarme para este stream en inglés. Hacen parte de comunidades de desarrolladores de videojuegos y, pues, bueno, no sé si quieren empezar. Empezamos desde abajo para arriba.
¿Quién empieza? Primero.
Sí, dale tú,
Hola, hola,
César.
hola. ¿Qué onda? Yo soy César de México. Soy administrador de un server de Discord que se llama indie-es. Y somos ahí ya casi llegamos a las 1000 personas. Que nos abre cositas ahí en el Discord de ahí nomás para empezar a picar. No estamos tan activos, pero pues sí somos, sí llega a varias personitas, ¿no? Hemos dado pláticas y cositas así, ¿no? Entonces está chido. Está
Está
bien chido.
chévere esa comunidad, sí, señores. Bueno, ¿quién sigue?
Hola, soy Luis, o me conocen normalmente como Squid. Yo soy ingeniero de software en la zona de soporte de consolas en Unity y apoyo tanto como la parte de indies como también la parte de tan grande jugando. Entonces estoy como mitad en México, mitad en Colombia. Entonces sí, es súper chévere todo esto.
Sigamos entonces con la comunidad mexicana. Está muteada, señora.
Mi nombre es Isabel Vázquez o Pinkbear y soy directora y productora de Pinkbear Games. Soy administradora y muy feliz de estar aquí con ustedes. También formo parte de Women in GameX de Ciudad de México.
Listo. Y nuestra evil Otter over here.
Hola, mucho gusto. Soy Camila Niño, soy artista yo en este momento en Tingba Games y también hago parte de Tan Grande y Jugando y de los Evil Plans de los Otters.
Bueno, y pues, ¿qué nos trae hoy y qué vamos a hablar? Hoy tenemos unos invitados súper especiales y como saben, el nombre de este podcast es justamente Seattle Indies. Nuestros entrevistados van a ser pues enteramente angloparlantes, entonces toda esta entrevista y toda la comunicación que vamos a tener va a ser justamente en inglés. Lo cual nos parece algo bueno y algo malo, ¿no? Porque pues no es nuestra lengua materna, pero sí nos parece súper importante y yo ahí les doy una pequeña cuña. Toda la industria de Latinoamérica necesita hablar inglés, por favor, mínimo. Pónganle un poquito de inglés a la vaina, sobre todo para sus puestos de trabajos. Y qué mejor que tener una excusa que un podcast que nos habla de la industria de desarrollo de videojuegos y pues que nos está justamente pues llegando a este tema. Y sin decir nada más, o no sé, ¿tienen preguntas, dudas antes de este comentario?
No, ya queremos conocer a los
Dale,
invitados.
sí.
Ya, bueno, listo. Entonces entramos con nuestro querido team y también a nuestra querida August. Hello, team and August, how are you?
Hello, doing well. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Thank you very much for accepting our invite to be part of this conference with the communities of Latin America. And we are super happy to see you over here. So I don't know if you guys, before we start with our guests, would like to say something about in Seattle Indies. Maybe Squid would like to add something.
Sure. I'm the executive director and board president of Seattle Indies. We're a nonprofit based in Seattle, Washington, in the United States, who helps build community and runs events for independent and professional game developers in the Seattle area to build their professional networks, grow their skills as game developers, and just make friends and make a great community, a safe and welcoming community for people to join. August is on the board and can speak a little more about what she does there.
Yeah, sure. So my name is August. I'm also on the board of the Seattle Indies, which is everything Tim said. I also founded the Diversity Collective, which is sort of like a DEI group within the Seattle Indies for underrepresented folks in game development, and specifically in Washington. So we do a lot of events for like LGBTQ groups, women in games, POC in games, disability and neurodivergent groups, So we run a lot of like smaller events to support those communities within the Seattle Indies too.
Oh, súper bonito. Well, I would like to share my experience with the Seattle community. I was there, or I met them. I didn't know I knew Tim, but practically Seattle Indies saved my life on 2021. It was like a super hardcore year. We already have this pandemic part of it, and I just jump in the global game jam. I was hosting a game jam, the global game jam, a location in my country, but I was feeling super alone. And a friend of mine, a Mexican friend of mine, told me like, "Hey, would you like to jump to this jam and make a game with us?" And I was in that location. I don't know why Luis chose that location, but he says like, this is the location, and I could jump in so many groups that were making games, and I feel like super comfortable, and I thought that, wait, the things that I am doing in my country like has a lot of sense now, like keep on working there. It clearly saved my life over there. Thank you, guys. Hágale squid.
Yeah, well, yeah. Like the experience I have with like Seattle Indies, at least for myself, I've been involved with a lot of folks that are part of the community in different game jams, at least. Like for example, the hype jam with Andrew. They're great, and they were always like so like encouraging to people to join. And I like one of the things that I like the most about like these events was the fact that I was able to like take risk and feel safe when doing so in these events. So that was great, and that's something that I've always admired, as well as like some networking events where I actually met a lot of really cool developers. So yeah, it's great to finally like get to talk to you guys.
Yeah, that's great to hear. That's amazing that we're reaching people so far away from Seattle, where we're that's our main focus. But to be able to help people in other parts of the world is awesome too. Our game jams are definitely super popular with our community, and we've worked really hard to make them feel safe and welcoming to people. And yeah, Hype Jam will be our next big jam coming up in July and August timeframe, where people try to just make a trailer for a game. They don't even have to make a game; they just make a trailer to promote a game, and that's helps them learn how to work with voiceover artists and recording artists and how to make their their pitch ability better.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
really
I love the
looking
idea of
forward
that
for this
jam. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't have to actually make a game. Like it's perfect. You just have to sell it.
Mhm.
I thought, or well, I haven't like actually been inside the community as much. Like I have it like on my list of like hundreds of discords. But I always admire like having all these meetups here and there. And I recall there was an event that was in conjunction with Mexico. I don't know how that happened, but it was like a bunch of us just talking also with some other people.
In
From
Zoom, right?
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
Yeah, that was a
it
great one.
was
Yeah.
it was the Mexican community. I jump
Yeah.
in one or two. I it was because of Fernando,
Yep.
Maybe
the
yeah.
Latinx
Yeah, we
community.
organized that with Fernando, and that was actually IGDA Seattle that co-organized that up here
Oh,
on our end. But I'm also
Mhm.
involved with that. So
Yeah.
like let's talk about all like that kind of events that you do. Like, please jump us in all of those.
yeah, I mean, we have quite a few regularly scheduled events for Seattle Indies. We have our weekly co-working, or bi-weekly actually, co-working session that happened. It went back to happening in person now, where people get to meet up every other week at the local game development school called AIE, Academy of Interactive Entertainment, and people just bring their laptops and work together, ask questions, learn together. That's a great place for people to start. We also have our monthly social meetups, like we were talking about earlier before we started here, but that we get regularly. Before the pandemic, we were getting over 100 people a month to come to those, and that's just a great like networking opportunity. And we have Game Club, which is like a book club for games, where we pick a game every month and play that and talk about it monthly, and we just restarted our feedback circle meetup, which meets on Discord now, where people can get feedback on their games. And sure, I'm forgetting there's more that keep coming up every month, and August can talk about some of the Diversity Collective events that we have as well.
Yeah, we've got a bunch. There's always something happening. We have monthly socials for the Diversity Collective, which are like small socials at a coffee shop here in Seattle. We have a yearly Pride event that's going to be coming up in June at a like board game cafe called Mox Seattle. We also have the Seattle Indies Expo, or SIX, which is a yearly juried game showcase that happens in parallel to PAX West every fall, which is also one of our biggest events. We show about 24 or 25 games, and we have both an online version on Twitch and a physical version is going to be an expo where you can see the games. But that has a whole process of submitting your game. It gets juried by a group of our like community jurors, and then people get to showcase, and that sort of helps to promote their work. And a lot of those games go on to show at GDC or Indie Mega Booth or other game expos as well. So that's probably one of our largest events every year.
But it is like the event. Like it is not like jumping in different kind of event. This is like the event.
Yeah.
Where do you host it?
We hosted at a place that's about 2 blocks away from the main convention center where PAX West happens on the Sunday of PAX weekend, and usually get around 2,000 or so people that come through during the day. It's totally free. Anybody's welcome.
Oh. So you jump in an event that already exists and like manage to have the opportunity to pull people that's also interested in that kind of stuff. I would like to know more, like how do you maintain a community that's already awake or awoke all the year?
I mean, I think we like are constantly hosting events and like different types of events that I think is a big part of it. And like also events at different scales. There's like smaller ways where you can have small pockets and conversation and discussion and feedback, and then like bigger events that people look forward to throughout the year, like something like SIX, where they might like start a game at one of the game jams and work on it in feedback circles and show it off at like smaller showcases, like building up to showing that game at SIX or submitting that at SIX or something like that. So I think there's sort of a like progression that people can take, and like a way for them to grow a project and like find support in working on that project, finding collaborators within that community. I don't know if Tim has anything else to add, but I think it's a lot of little pieces and a lot of help from organizers, like a lot of different people that are putting energy to like keeping events going. And running like game jams and SIX, like you need a good amount of people behind that to put the energy in.
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate to have such a vibrant community here already. We have like a ton of AAA developers around the area that attracts like high level talent to Seattle, and a lot of them will go through working for a few years at a AAA studio, release a game, and then want to go try something on their own and become indies. And that's part of what we're here for and how we exist and how we get help. A lot of them, they become successful. They give back to us and support us. Like we have Stoic Studios are locally here, and they made Banner Saga, and we have the guys who made Slay the Spire in Seattle, and Quantum Astrophysicists Guild that had Tumblestone and The Bridge, and like just big. The studios like that have gone through, been part of Seattle Indies and go on to be successful are generous enough to give back and support us and help the next generation of people coming up. So that's been great. And, like as August mentioned, we have a strong team of volunteer organizers, probably about 15 to 20 people in the background who are helping constantly with coming up with new ideas for events, hosting their own events, helping us to manage the like almost 3,000 person Discord server that we have now. That's like is constantly active, especially since the pandemic, and even now it's just like active all the time and requires a lot of attention to make sure that everybody's acting accordingly with our code of conduct and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it takes a lot of people, but we're lucky to have so many dedicated people here in our community.
Okay. And when you are, well, for me, it's clear like the ecosystem of the game dev industry in your city is like super evolved, like in terms of you have the studios, you have universities or academies, or well, of course, the game dev community and the volunteers. But what is the type of people that exist inside your game dev community? The kind of people that go to your event, like is these people that's super young, or it's more like more veterans? What's the kind of mi español se murió ahí. What's the kind of usual I was going to say jammer, but it's not the jammer, it's usual
Person
Seattle
inside the
indie.
Community member.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, community member.
I mean, I think it is super broad. Like, we have people who are hobby game devs who make games on the side of a full-time job that has nothing to do with game development. We have indie developers, AAA developers, people who are working in tech or game adjacent fields, but not directly in game development. It really does span, and like students and people who've been in the industry for a long time. So I think it kind of cycles, because there's like the veterans in the industry and in our community are really interested in helping out the next generation and like current students. And so we have a mentorship program as well to pair those up to kind of, it's sort of a cyclical thing. But it's super broad, and everybody is welcome. Like, we are the Seattle Indies, but like that doesn't mean that everybody in the community is only working on indie development. Like, people are working on a lot of different kinds of stuff, and like VR, AR, XR kind of communities as well.
Yeah, for sure. We're all inclusive of the industry in general in Seattle, and everyone's welcome. I mean, we do tend to have probably more people that are beginning their journey in the games industry joining us. Those are like the newer members, and we're here to support that. We have pathways to help people, both learn how to make games and find teams to work with, and also find jobs in the industry. So we have so many like local companies here that'll post job postings in our groups because they know we have talented people as a part of our as a part of the community, and they want to hire those people. And it's great to be able to build events and community that supports that. We have I've seen so many people like come to game jams and just gain that confidence that they can like do it, and they stick with it, and they keep coming to our events, and just I see their talent increase greatly, and they see them go on to get jobs in the industry or start a studio and make their game, publish their games. And make a career out of it is really fulfilling as an organizer, and rewarding to see that happen.
Yes, it is. So, when did you start? Like, how many years does Seattle Indies has?
I think we're going on 11 years now, if not more. I haven't been around for the whole time, but I think it started in 2011 with a couple of local studios and a bunch of DigiPen graduates. DigiPen is like the well-known gaming school here in the Seattle area.
Okay.
That a lot of people come for, and they just started kind of hanging out in bars and stuff, and then it turned into a bigger meetup where everybody would get together at the old 17-bit office that was like in an old warehouse, like a dark old warehouse downtown. And it was not the most inviting place, and it was kind of like a secret handshake to get in there. But now we've worked hard and made it into a full nonprofit, and have our events in well-lit public spaces where everybody feels. Most people feel comfortable to come and attend and be a part of it, and you don't have to know somebody who knows somebody to get in the door. Everybody's welcome.
I feel like all the game dev communities started with beer and pizza.
Yeah,
Around,
I mean, that was definitely, there was a lot of that, and still is.
yeah. Oh,
For example, whenever you started the community, what was like your biggest challenge for like making it more inclusive so that people felt safe joining the community?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I mentioned, it was just finding the spaces where people feel comfortable coming. They still have like, you know, our main event is held in a brewery basically, and there are still some people who have reservations about being in spaces that serve alcohol, and I understand that it's a little difficult to find big spaces that can hold a lot of people that don't. So we're always on the lookout for that. But it's more about just having a consistent message of inclusivity, of positivity, of our code of conduct, and enforcing it, and making sure that we take issues seriously when people have problems with code of conduct violations, and take the appropriate action to keep the community safe and to keep potential bad actors out of the community, basically, no matter
yeah,
who they are.
that's super awesome. Like, can we discuss that kind of, because I do feel like we already have that kind of problems, and it would be awesome to know what did you do there, or like we don't need names. We will like actions or situation. Like, if this situation had happened, like you could do this.
Yeah, I mean, we have our code of conduct, which is posted online and added to every event post that we do, so that it's visible and people know. And as that gets updated, like we'll share that with the community to make sure they see it. But if something does happen, it's largely our board that like has a discussion about it and reviews like whatever the situation is. It is kind of on a situation by situation basis, just depending on what it is that's happened. But always for us addressing it, like the
Oigan, bájense.
number one thing is
Señora,
protecting whoever it is that came forward or was hurt by something or was on the receiving end of something that happened where the code of conduct was broken. So it's mostly about like protecting that person and making sure that they still feel comfortable in the community and aren't pushed out because of somebody else, and us not like protecting them in something that has happened. But I don't know if you want to be like any more specific, Tim.
That covers most of it. I mean, we start from a standpoint of believing victims and prioritize the safety of the community and our members above everything. Like, it doesn't matter who is accused and what like stature they have in the industry. That doesn't matter. What matters to us is people feeling safe coming to our events and participating and being a part of the community. So that we try to like make sure that that's protected above everything else, really.
I just found the webpage, and I do feel like this is going to be awesome for the game dev community that's from Latin America. We're going to share the link of this page. I'm sharing, but I am not sharing at the same time because I am pendeja.
Do you want me to share it?
Yes, señora, yes.
Okay.
Tasquete kudasai.
Yeah, I mean, this
Yes.
was a main like starting point for every community. I think that you definitely need it protects you, and it makes your members like aware of what the values are of your community, and makes them feel like they're able to participate. So
I think it also makes people feel safer joining a community, knowing that we've thought about this and that we have a process for it. And seeing this on an event that this, like, we're looking out for this kind of thing, I think just makes people feel safer attending in general.
It is simple, but it is like in the point. So I like it.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the less fun part of community management, is dealing with those types of issues, because at the heart of it, we're all friends, and it's hard to like have to discipline your friends, I guess, and but we don't let that get in the way of the decisions that we make. Like I said, the safety and security of the people who come to our events is what we value above everything.
Mm.
So how do you overcome that insecurity? Like I feel like I've had enough times where I'm like hesitant to take an action because it's like an issue, but it's not that big of an issue. But if I let it slip, but it's starting to get bigger and bigger. But if I try to do something about it right now, it's going to be like a bigger issue maybe than what is going to happen if I let it. It's always complicated. That's like my bane of existence. Whenever I'm in any community, like that doesn't happen that much at Indies, but I've been like a moderator in other community discords, and that's like I just can't. And it's just because there's some other people that they're like, yeah, whatever, I'm gonna kick them out or time them out or whatever. But thinking of that happening on my own server, it will be like way harder for me to take any action. I feel like how do you do anything?
I do think it depends on what it is. If it's something that's happening on your Discord, like we do have a zero tolerance policy for harassment or like breaking our code of conduct, which is why it's so written out. So if something does happen on Discord, we can give someone a timeout on the Discord or ban them from the Discord and say like, here's the lines of the code of conduct that like, you know, you need to follow this, or we'll give them a warning ahead of time if they're not, to say like, hey, you know, you need to follow this, and if you don't, then we will have to ban you from the server, or you know, whatever it may be. And I think if you're having like if it's something that has to do with in-person events and not an online community, I think having a group of organizers in your community already who are prepared to like be the ones to have these discussions within them, and having it be multiple people and not just one, I think helps. And like if you feel like it's a situation with people that you know really personally, like removing yourself if you can't be impartial from like that particular instance, and having a like committee of other people step forward and ask if they can be part of that discussion, I think is also helpful if it's something that like is a really personal situation that you're struggling with.
Yeah, that helps a
Yeah,
lot.
absolutely. It's like the longer you let it go, just the more anxiety builds up in yourself. And then, you know, there's like the phrase of a death by 1,000 cuts. Like you can just like let little things go, but it can like erode at your community and people's trust in your ability as a community manager. And the people will just start disappearing if like they feel unsafe there, and you'll wonder why. And that's probably why, is that you're not dealing with the small issues, even as small as it might seem. Like you want to, the focus for us is like to have it be a positive place and a supportive place, and that's always what guides our actions and how we deal with discipline issues. And just to answer the question I saw pop up about NFTs, like we took a poll from our community about how they felt about that, and they were pretty strongly against it. And we had a couple incidents in our Discord where people just kind of dropped in and immediately started like flame wars about NFTs and crypto, and wanted to like get people to join their companies and whatnot. And we were just like, that's not what we want in our community. And it was just making everybody angry. So we were just like, we don't want that here. And people, you know, artists in our community had their work stolen from NFT scams. So like, it's mainly about protecting that positive atmosphere. Basically, it was why we did that.
Okay, yeah, like I was clearly going to ask you about that, like what made you put that intel there, but also about the code of conduct, like if something had happened for you to build it, or you just thought about like, hey, you know what, we should build this before something happened.
No, I mean, there was like an incident that happened years ago that kind of was the catalyst for getting us to put one in place. Before we had it, we kind of realized we needed it after that, since we didn't have like a set of guidelines that we could just point to and be like, you broke this rule, so you're out. You know, like it just made it a lot easier for us as organizers to be able to show people, here's the rules, and if you don't follow them, then like you're no longer welcome. You know.
we have like kind of a situation here in Colombia, like for the first months of the pandemic. Do you remember, Squid? We have a crazy guy that was super obsessed with the topic, and he like I cannot say he because in the Discord he said he was a she. But when we investigate, it was a guy that was like clearly hating women all the way, and he would just want to prove the point of what was that. So kind of we tried to give him a second chance, and he burned it like in few minutes. He's still for the day, like today he still harass me. That's super weird in other server communities and with other, like for example in Latinx in gaming, he writes to all the leaders like pure bullshit and pure lies. But of course those guys already know me and know my job, and um, but like haters are all the time is going to hate. You cannot avoid that. But like pretty awesome that you have that. We already have a code of conduct. We have never used it before. We were like entitled to use that in that topic, and we didn't use it in the first place because we gave a second chance to this person. And of course but it's okay, like having second chances. We already have a second chance for us too. And now let's keep on working with the Seattle Indies. The events that you do, like among like just like putting the list of all the things that you do, can we like pass to each of the events that you do? Like mentoring seems to be like pure awesomeness, but it is something like how do you manage to make the mentoring work for all the year, or is it just in seasons, or are you allied with a university or with the academy that you told us?
No, I mean we just launched it this year in February, so this is like our first quarter that we've been through. We had around 125 people apply, and like probably a quarter or a third of those were mentors, a third of those were people looking to be mentored. We made 60 matches out of those, prioritizing people from traditionally underrepresented groups in the industry to try to help grow a more diverse industry here. And we're just managing that. Well, I'm managing most of it on my own, really, doing all the matchmaking, which made me
It's like
appreciate
a Tinder
like,
there. How are you making work that?
it's a lot of spreadsheets. It definitely made me appreciate like dating apps a lot more, because I'm like,
Super sexy
this is
sounds.
hard work.
Cesar loves all about the spreadsheets.
Right.
We're on it. So how you make it work? Like it is supposed to be like in I don't know, like you put it in your spreadsheet, you put it in
Yeah,
how do you
I guess
manage to...
we want to know the specifics. Like
Yes.
how
Yeah.
can we like bring this up to ourselves? Because I think we have always struggled to like, I don't know, organize stuff, everything. Like
Yeah.
it's always super hard to like get I guess for ourselves we are like not that many people, and for the people that are in the server there's not that many people that are active or are willing to like give that much time. And I mean there's like very good people around, but I won't be asking other people like, hey, can you like come here and spend 2 hours in favor of the community? Like I think that will be too much to ask for some people. And in the other end of that is that at least Mexico is kind of huge in space, and we are all like scattered around, so it's not necessarily that easy to be like, hey, we are from this city and we're going to like reunite and something. So yeah, just any tips or any way that you can explain how do you organize all these
Yes.
the mentorships and specific onto how to like be able to do that in a flexible way because we might be able to try some of that, but not
He just
probably.
sent us like the recipe of the salsa. Chan
Yes,
chan
like
chan
the sign
chan.
up form that we use, but
True, true.
I mean, it took us a long time to get to this point where we can have this
Ah,
ability, like our groups
every-
has been around for over 10 years now. So we have more senior people who are willing to mentor the younger generation, the junior people in the group. And we kind of leave it up to them to decide how they want to proceed. Like I'll send an email to the matches and say, make an introduction, and then it's up to them to meet at least once per quarter, however they want, in person, online, for an hour to just chat. And so far, all the feedback I've heard has been great. Everybody has really appreciated it, and having great conversations and meeting great folks. And like a lot of the more senior people don't have as much time to come out to all of our meetups because they're busy working and making awesome games at their big studios. And so this gives them a chance to spend an hour on like a Zoom call and connect with a junior person in the industry and help them out on their path.
I think there's also like for making a successful mentorship relationship, I think it's sort of you need to have work on both ends in that like the mentee needs to come in prepared with like what questions do they have, what do they need help with, like what are they expecting to get, what do they want to get out of the mentorship. So it really helps if mentees, if there's someone to work with mentees and say like help them figure out like what it is that they're looking for, just tell them to like come in and be prepared, so that if a mentor has 1 hour to give once a month, they get a lot out of that hour, because people are really busy. So it respects the time of the mentor, and they can make it like as infrequent as they want, or as frequent as they want between the two of them, and having that flexibility, or having like asynchronous feedback where someone can send them like something to play test or send them art for feedback, and they can write back at their convenience. So there's different ways that you can structure it, but I do think that a lot of having a successful mentorship does rely on the mentee to like put themselves forward and know like this is what I specifically need help with, and to like get good use of the time and not expect the mentor to come in and like solve problems for them automatically.
This is great. It's great. I love it.
We're going to copy that clearly.
Yeah.
Like in Tan
Feel free.
Grande, we were like growing up our mentoring program. We're still building it. It's going to be called Pedacito de Cielo. Brown, John Brown, Mr. Brown from Microsoft. Kevin Brown, maybe you already know it. He's the ones that started Black in Games. He's the one that's mentoring me to be like working on that, and he was like, hey, let's push this idea, and I am in the job to make that happen. But clearly I have a lot of mentors over here. Thank you very much for helping us. We're going to copy this.
Yeah,
Please do, yeah.
in this as well, we were looking. One of the greatest things, or one of the things that I like the most about like indies specifically, is that a lot of people are really eager to like spend time on these kind of like projects or like events. And we were actually looking into like making mentorships or like scaling mentorships and like opening this kind of like site for the server as well. So it's really helpful, and I really appreciate it as well.
Yeah, I think something that I picked up for a couple of years ago. Right now, I have like another topic in mind, but is that at least for indies, and there was a little bit of lack of feedback and stuff like how to give feedback, how to receive feedback. So I had that idea stashed on my mind on what can I do in order to be able to like start talking a lot about giving and receiving feedback, and this is a great opportunity to mix it up with the current needs of mentorships and that kind of stuff. I think this is exciting. It's actually something I can spend energy on because I love the idea so much. Yes, thank you.
And how do you, after these, like you say, like it is just forms, and forms, but I don't see here, for example, that you ask them for their links or like personal information, personal bio, like maybe if they are mentors, like are they going to how do you, yes.
That's a good point. Maybe I should add that. I hadn't even thought about that.
Okay.
most of the mentors who apply, I know them personally, so it's like it's fairly easy. But it'll take grows. I'll probably need. I don't know everybody, so it might be better to have that. It's a good idea. Like LinkedIn or something might be good to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I because in my spreadsheet I'm thinking not only the LinkedIn, but maybe also the CV because when we present ourselves in a job in Latin America, you usually had to have your CV more than your LinkedIn account.
Yeah, I mean, mostly I've been using the people have been pretty good about writing about themselves in the description where I asked them to tell us about themselves. That's kind of like where I base the matchmaking off of is what people have entered in that field, and they're fairly good about telling us enough info for me to be able to make good matches.
Okay. And you have the opportunity like to have that meeting online, in person, or both of them. So it means that it only applies for local indies in Seattle, but can we share this to our game dev community?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, with the things the way they are, people are a lot more used to virtual meetings these days. So definitely, I mean, the priority is given to local people, but we certainly would be open to having others join from around the world.
Of course.
Do you have a space on the Discord about these mentorships, or does that all happen like through DMs and Zoom and that kind of stuff?
We do have a channel dedicated for mentors to chat with each other, but we don't have like a mentor to mentee channel. They kind of do that themselves.
Okay.
Okay. Listo. So we already passed through the mentorships. How are your jams? Like, why are the Seattle Indies jams so famous?
And before that, I wanted to ask before, but do you know what percentage of women do you have in your community? Around.
I see percentage.
I don't think we do. Not like no, I don't think I have statistics. We have like a women in games chat in the Discord, but that's also not really like an all-encompassing channel necessarily. There's definitely like women in the community that just haven't joined that chat, so it's kind of hard to know. Or also women in the community who aren't on Discord, who like prefer to come to in-person events or find our events on Facebook and not on Discord. So it's kind of spread out in a way that's hard to get a real number.
Yeah, I mean, we've worked hard to improve the numbers. I mean, in the early days, it was definitely mostly men, but we have worked hard thanks to August and Diversity Collective and other initiatives we've taken to improve the women and people from other genders being involved in the community. But yeah, I mean, it is just a representation of the industry that it's still predominantly men, but we are always working to try to bring in other people that don't identify as men.
Yeah, they're still the minority, which is why Diversity Collective exists. But events, I guess, are kind of an indicator for different subgroups. I mean, we're going to be hosting a Pride event that is like roughly 70 people of LGBTQ developers. I'm also kind of worried that that's not enough capacity. That's our like venue capacity, that we're going to need more room because I think we have more interest than what that's going to fit. So that's a little bit of an indicator, at least for that group. But at least since COVID, we haven't done a like specific women in games event. So if we do, that might give us a better number.
Of course. And what's kind of events that you do to promote more inclusive spaces in the game dev industry?
I think part of that is having events that aren't focused around like alcohol. So events that are like in a park or at a coffee shop, or we'll go out for tea or something like that. We do like our monthly socials are at a coffee shop, which are pretty like broad socials that include all of the different groups that are what we consider underrepresented groups in our community. And then we also will do like events specifically focused on one of those groups that's like largely just focused on what that group wants to do. So like the LGBTQ group is like Pride is our thing. We're like, we got to do a big Pride event. That's what that group wants to do. And so like those individual groups can kind of decide on like what they want. And our neurodivergent group is currently working on a like quiet social that cuts down on like ambient noise and loud discussion and a lot of extra chatter you get at like in a brewery, for example, or in a big restaurant. So like they're working on like how they can go to a park and where they can have an event that's specifically about keeping noise levels down for people that are sensitive to that or neurodivergent. So there's different ways that's something that we're working on.
Super nice.
We try to let people that are from those communities lead those discussions and those events, and come up with things that they want for their own.
You're just like a facilitator.
Correct. Yeah.
Of course. So people, you already have the Discord there, so jump in and enjoy it. Like have the opportunity to know more about this game dev community, and of course you surely are going to practice your English a lot. You see they have pools. Let's see this, like they have event chat, more topics to talk.
See my face in there a lot.
Yeah.
I have a question. You allow me? Well, if I am new in the community, how I can be part of you? Yeah. If I don't know, I'm new in Seattle or even in another country, how I enter to the community, speak with people, just Discord, a forum, or just assisting to the meetings? How can I be part of that?
I think I'll let August answer that since she's a perfect use case for that scenario.
Yeah, so I'm not from Seattle. I moved here in 2018 from the East Coast around the Boston area. And I already knew a small handful of people here because I was working in games on the East Coast. So I had a couple people who were like, yeah, we're going to this social and you should come. And I basically just showed up to what is the monthly social. And I had like, I think two or three people there that I already knew. And just started walking around to strangers that I didn't know and be like, hi, this is who I am. You want to talk about games? And yeah, it was really easy. Like I made a lot of friends very quickly. Like people were very welcoming, and I am not like I was never super active on the Discord. Like at least at that time, I was like mostly engaged in in-person events, and yeah, it was just like I like instant. I was like, yeah, this is great. I just like I've just moved across the country. I only know a couple of people, and I felt like I had a community and like friends so quickly. When that's kind of the fear that I'm like, I don't know anybody on this side of the country. So yeah, everyone was really great, and definitely got more involved in like the online side of the community. Especially over COVID. But it's pretty easy, especially if you want to get engaged with us from a different country or from a distance. Like the Discord is a great place to do that because people are super active on there. And if you're ever in the Seattle area, like just come to an event. Like we have a lot of stuff going on and like everybody is welcome. And that happens all the time. Like when there's PAX in Seattle, the Seattle Indies events, we're always like everybody like, yeah, come on in and like and meet our community, and that's a lot of fun.
Well, thank you. Well, people, just enter the Discord and talk to people.
More or less, yeah.
I
we
want
do
to
a
know.
monthly Discord social too that people can like meet other folks on there. So
yes, I want to know the activities that you do inside the Discord to keep people online and on site?
So on Discord, we have multiple different events. We've moved to like our game club event, like I mentioned, we do on Discord now. It's like much easier to organize there. We used to have it at like somebody's house that was kind of out of the way and hard to get to, and now you can just turn on your computer and watch somebody play and join in the chat, and that's made that event a lot more accessible for people. We have Feedback Circle, like I mentioned, which happens every other month, where people sign up to have their games get feedback from our developers, and we have talked with people about how to give and receive feedback and make sure it's all consent-based feedback, and that you're only giving feedback on the specific thing that somebody's asking for feedback on, and tell the people that they don't have to act. They're not obliged to act on any of that feedback. We have somebody just started up like a programmers like roundtable, coding roundtable for people to ask like code questions or give examples. There's a writer's room that just started recently where people who are in game writing get together and critique each other's work and give each other suggestions. And the first of every month we do like a portfolio day where artists will go into the art channel and post their portfolio. So there's like a ton of stuff going on in the Discord, and I'm probably forgetting it all because people keep creating new things that I don't even know half the time what's going on, but it's all cool. Like there's something happening.
Yeah, how do you make that like don't being so I've been attacked? How you make that not being so like dramatic for someone that doesn't use Discord? Maybe it is that your community is more in technology and they already know more Discord, or I will need to leave in 2 minutes. Nairobi, podemos negociar. But maybe it's that your game dev community is already knowing Discord and they're not in all the shock of channels and stuff in Discord. Or how do you do to let them go through the journey in Discord and not be like overwhelmed?
Oh, go ahead, August, if you have something to say.
Like unmuting at the same time. I as somebody who is overwhelmed by loud discords, I highly recommend like muting channels that you don't want to watch, or like mute, if you're an artist, mute everything except for the art channels. If you're looking for work, keep that one unmuted. If you're not looking for work, mute that channel so you don't get the noise from it. Or like, if you're going on vacation and you don't want to look at work or Discord communities, like mute it, just turn it off for the week. So like that is super useful, and there's a lot of channels. So that's just what I recommend, to get into the ones that you're interested in, and don't have FOMO about the ones you're not involved in. Like allow yourself to not look at them.
Yeah, and we've empowered like some of our more senior community members to kind of be ambassadors, that like when a new artist joins the Discord, then the kind of like senior art person will welcome them in and encourage them to post their profile in the art channel, and ask them about their work, and the narrative people, if they see a writer join, will do the same and ask them about their work. Or we have audio folks who will jump in and welcome the audio people. So it's kind of like a takes a village type of effort. Everybody has their role, and there's like kind of a welcoming person or people that will welcome new members and direct them into where they should go.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good idea out there, like to have these kind of ambassadors that promote the use of Discord. But we haven't answered my biggest question of all, and why Seattle Indies jams are so famous.
Well, I mean, my other life and job is that I'm executive director at Global Game Jam, and that couldn't have happened without all the jams that we run at Seattle, starting with Global Game Jam back in 2016 was kind of the first one we did, and grew them from, we had about 50 people in that old warehouse that I mentioned earlier, and before the pandemic, we grew up to 250 people at the Pacific Science Center downtown, which is like the big science museum, like right by the Space Needle here in Seattle. And yeah, I don't know, we've worked really hard to make our jams and our other events inclusive and welcoming to everyone to participate and feel like they're comfortable to join us, and just constantly taking feedback from the jammers and adding new things for them to make them feel better. Like at the old in-person jams, I would always bring like a big supply of like personal items for people, like toothpaste and like things that you kind of forget about when you're working 24 hours on a video game, and there's little touches to make things nicer and easier. And we have mentors that we bring to our gyms from each different discipline that are there to answer questions and help people on their way. And we try to feed people and make it a fun environment to be a part of. And then, you know, we have the online jams that we've kept going, and those have been great too. They're different, but those have really been important for people, I think, during the pandemic, to be able to have those creative outlets and times to connect with people.
Awesome. We have here a question from Andy Uran, and it is, how do you get funding? Anything that the Colombian organization, Mexican organization, Venezuelan organization, all the organizations Latin America can learn from you?
Yeah, I mean, part of it comes from, we have a Patreon where people can support us for a little bit of money every month, and helps cover some of our overhead costs as a nonprofit that we have. And then most of it comes through sponsorship. We have a lot of companies here in the Seattle area that are happy to sponsor our events and connect with our community. So that's always a big part of it. And the other one is we have Microsoft is in our backyard here, and we have people that work for Microsoft as a part of the community, and they will pay the nonprofits a certain amount per hour for every hour that a Microsoft person like volunteers for the nonprofit. So that's been a big benefit as well.
Talking about the nonprofits and supporting your local game dev community, don't forget to support Tan Grande y Jugando, which is bringing you awesome content about the game dev industry. So we have also our Patreon. Don't forget us.
Please.
Feed the Otter. Yeah, and did you know, like people that is always seeing our content, did you know that Tan Grande Jugando supports other game dev communities? We also gave them our StreamYard or our platform, so they can have the opportunity to tell the world what they are building. And so go ahead and support us in Patreon too. Thank you, team.
Yeah.
Yes, it is Nairobi's hour. She's going to kill me. But I would like to talk about a little bit more about the other kind of events. If you have the time to have this chat and extend this,
Yeah, sure. What else would you like to know?
like all the kind of events that you do and promote.
Yeah, I mean, we do our
the Tuesdays meetings. Please show us the best picture there is of a cat in a game dev site. That's all what it is about this conference, people. It is a cat going to an event of game developers, like
A developer cat?
yeah, a developer cat over here.
Wow. Oh,
Really?
that was our last social last Tuesday. Somebody brought their cat in a little backpack.
Oh.
Yes. How did you manage to find this place? I understand before the pandemic you find 100 people there in location. Tell me
Friends.
more about this. Like, this is awesome. This is a cafe?
No, it's
this is like
it's a brewery that's like in the middle of town.
what? What's a brewery?
Like they make their own beer there. Brewery.
Oh. Una cervecería. Wow.
Yeah, they're also, well, since we're a nonprofit, they let us use their space for free, basically, and that serves as like in-kind donation. And yeah, they give us basically like half of the building, which can hold a couple hundred people. And our first post-COVID event back in July of last year, we had almost 200 people turn up for the event because everybody was just like ready to get out and see people. But since then it's kind of gone back down the numbers as things fluctuate with the pandemic, but it's still great to be able to connect with people.
Of course. How is the vaccination going on there? Like,
Yeah. How do you handle the whole health thing? Everyone crammed in same space and that kind of stuff?
We still are requiring vaccination proof, at least at our events. We'll make people show their cards, and Seattle has a pretty high vaccination rate, fortunately, but we've still had some like outbreaks of different variants that have caused issues. So yeah, and we don't have any mask mandates here or anything anymore, but we are still asking people to show their vaccine cards.
oh, super bien. That makes more secure the event, of course.
Yeah, and thankfully that event is that space particularly has really high ceilings, and they keep their windows open pretty much all the time and have fans going. So there's like at least seems like decent airflow in there. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be super hard for us to find that in Bogota because we're cold all the time. we don't have seasons here. We only have like super rain or rainy, normally rainy.
I mean, that's kind of like it is here too. We
Oh.
do get a nice warm summer
We don't
for like 2 months.
Uy, qué rico. Well, we don't have that. We only have like gray and hyper gray. And that kind of content and places, like knowing that we can ask for help or we can ask to be supported by others, like I know that's going to help us, the other communities. So I hope that Andy Uran, wherever he is in his mind there working on, I hope like those ideas let him grow something extra.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is consistency of like a consistent venue and a consistent time and day when you're having your events, so people know when the thing's going to be, and like, that just helps grow the event immensely. Other events we do throughout the year, we have our big holiday party. That's kind of like people get dressed up and we like order a bunch of food and have
like
an open
Halloween.
bar. No, holiday, like around Christmas.
Oh, okay.
Dressed up like formal.
Dressed up formally, sorry. Yeah, not like
yeah, I thought everyone was in red and hats.
I mean, some people do put on fun costumes like that, but
yeah. Probably me. I read the invite wrong. Okay, yeah, I understand now. Like if you're in a prom, something like that.
yeah, it's like if you work at a big office and they have their big Christmas party, but it's for indies who don't work at an office, and we provide that for them.
We can dress one day in a year. Okay, so you make like a holiday Christmas party there.
Yeah.
And what's like the kind of the schedule of the activities that you do in that kind of event?
Oh, I mean, that one's just kind of you show up and eat and drink, and we have board games and a photo booth and some other fun things to do usually.
That's the same kind of content that you do in the usual Tuesday meetings?
Yeah, it basically is like a bigger version, a more like organized version of that, basically. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, on our Tuesday socials, it's we don't have like dinner, we don't serve a full food. So the holiday party, we have a buffet or food for everybody, and more like smaller activities like the board game I was talking about.
Like activities that are going to let you speak with someone else. Like what kind of activities do you have there? What kind of games?
Oh, a bunch of board games. It's just like yeah, is a huge assortment. So people can start up a game if they want to. They could bring their own game if they wanted to play something specific. And yeah, the photo booth I mean, you just like, it's a photo booth. It has a background. You bring your friends in and like take fun photos, and those always end up like kind of goofy. And
Yeah.
so it's just a fun thing.
Like that kind of I do feel like we have to include the photo booth people. Like
Yeah, I'm glad the photo booths came back into
Yeah.
existence, because those are great.
Yes. Maybe they never left over there, but here they're dead.
Oh,
But
really?
yeah, we have it in the Women in Games party of Ouija International. I believe it's the name of that in the GDC. I feel like nobody took many pictures as the Latinas that were in that event. Like we kidnapped that, and we have super fun having some pictures with that. And they send you the pictures to your email, so that's pretty awesome. Well, I don't want to interrupt you, like in terms like you have your lives over there, and like I am super happy to have you here. I don't know if my team has any other question. Are you ready to copy these? Are we ready to implement this in Latin America?
Yes, we are ready.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming to talk to us.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Let's
feel
do
free
it.
to reach out anytime if you have questions.
Oh, you're
Awesome.
clearly going to be kidnapped by the Latinas. Like
Yeah.
August, come to my house. Like welcome. This is Nairobi. When I will see you here, like of course, team, the doors are open all the
We
way
need to go to make a field trip to Vancouver, to Seattle.
to Seattle.
Seattle, yes.
Oh yeah.
To Seattle.
Yeah, the treasurer for GGJ is down in Bogota, Joseph. And so maybe
Well,
have me come down and visit.
Jeff is in Medellin.
Oh yeah, Medellin, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't matter. You have to stop in Bogota. Like, come here.
To
Don't
get to
worry.
Medellin, you have to stop through Bogota, so you're not escaping.
You're not escaping. Yeah. You're coming here. But I'm super happy to know more about the Seattle Indies. You know that we are going to be super annoying in your emails, like people that's watching this stream. Thank you very much for being with us. I hope this is a good opportunity for you to practice your English, but of course to have more ideas with your game dev community. This content is going to be shared with our game dev communities that are allied with Tan Grande Jugando from all parts of Latin America. So thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks for having
Great
us.
to meet you all and chat with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
People from all over the world